indication of how spectacularly difficult our task was, and how spectacularly we failed at it. That, when we were both adults, my younger sister told me that she had spent 5 years waiting for our mother to come home from the hospital, where she was certain they would find a way to make her well. I suppose this is an odd way to begin the story of writing a column of personal reflections, a column that I did not start to write until a full 15 years after the January evening on which my mother died. And yet it is the beginning. For there are 2 parts to writing a column about yourself, about your life and your feelings. One is naturally the writing itself, the prose, and if you've got it in you, the poetry. But the other is the living, and that is the harder part. When I was 22, I wanted badly to do such a column, but the managing editor of the newspaper for which I was working said that I was a good enough writer, but that I hadn't lived enough to be qualified for living out loud. At the time, I was enraged by his attitude. Now I know he was right. My prose may have been adequate, but my emotional development was not. It was not until the aftermath of my mother's death that I began to realize that I would have to fashion a life for myself. And that is what I've been trying to do in a workmanlike way ever since. This seems rather ordinary to me now, but at the beginning it was odd and frightening. Up until that point, life had fashioned me. There had been almost no decisions for me to make, in part because I was not permitted to make them, and in part because I saw no path other than the one I was on. I went to school, did well, came home, ate dinner, finished my homework, went to bed. I fought with my brothers and loved but did not know my parents. I wore what my friends wore and said the kinds of things they said, and if somewhere someone was deciding what we should wear and discuss, I did not know who that someone was. There were 2 good reasons not to interfere with such a life. I felt powerless to do so, and I was happy. It was a lucky coincidence for me that this impeccable superstructure and my own private frame of reference came tumbling down at about the same time, since I like to take all my medicine at once rather than have it doled out in dribs and drabs. My mother began to die on the cusp of the 60s and the 70s, at the same time that the religion and the rules that had circumscribed her life and mine died too. And I was left with a self to do with what I pleased. I felt as though someone had handed me a grenade with the pin pulled. Now I know that I was one among many, that all over America, and indeed the world, women were beginning to feel this same way, beginning to feel the great blessing and the horrible curse of enormous possibility. "Oh, you girls," an elderly woman once sighed, talking to me of my job and looking down at my belly big with child as we sat together in a nursing home in New York City. "All these choices for you." I smiled, and she sighed. "I feel so sorry for you," she added, and I smiled again, for I knew she was right. I knew that in the years following that January night, I had been numb with fear at some simple truths, that I was going to have to find a way to earn a living, make a decision about what I wanted to do